Today we're going to talk about dashboard building in JMP 13. Dashboards provide quick access to key performance information that scientists and engineers need to make effective decisions or to communicate findings with others. So as an example of a dashboard, we have some information about semiconductor wafers. We have the graphs arranged in a grid on a single screen so we can quickly see the most needed metrics to assess. We have this distribution which shows that our wafers are coming from 5 different lots. And this distribution, as well as giving the number of counts per level, also acts as a filter. So if we want to focus on just one of the lots, say lot 3, then our graph updates and we're just looking at the lots. Now because this is JMP and these platforms are live, I can make these wafers a little bit bigger. I can look at some statistics here. In this case, we have capability index plot for 2 of our measures, P1 and P2. And in a tab here, we have the distribution of P1 and P2, as well as some upper spec limit, lower spec limit, and a target. The thing about dashboards in JMP is that they can be adjusted at runtime. So if, for example, I want to peel this tab off, we get highlighted drop zones that look like our graph builder, and we can rearrange these things. So if I want this distribution to sit below our capability, I can place it there, and the dashboard updates. And from here, we can focus in and find interesting things in our data. For example, in lot 4, we have some information about defect numbers here, and we can see one of these wafers looks like a defect pattern. We can highlight these and then see the results highlighted in the rest of our statistics. So dashboards give you a lot of quick information about your data, all on a single report, either for yourself or for sharing with others. So in JMP 13, we've added a new dashboard building mode found in File, New, Dashboard. And the idea here is you can go from data to dashboard in minutes without any coding required. And in the process of adding this dashboard building mode, we've picked up a lot of nice additional features along the way. So that's kind of the what. Let's talk about the how. So I'm going to open some data here. This is some information about vehicles. So we have vehicle models, what country they're from, the type, and then a couple of measures like weight, turning circle, displacement, horsepower, and gas tank size. In our data table, we have a couple of scripts that run analyses, and these will generate individual reports. So I have contingency analysis. I have a graph builder box plot, which looks at the type of car and then the gas tank size. And then I have a contour plot here, a violin plot, which is looking at a number of measures. Now say I want to arrange these into a single window dashboard. I will go into File, New, Dashboard. And this is the dashboard builder. The dashboard builder has a number of templates to get you started, or you can start with a blank dashboard. So the idea here is if you want to quickly build a dashboard that looks like one of these templates, we can just click on it. The dashboard builder comes up, and now we get thumbnails of the reports that are in our window as an option here. So let's say we want to put this contingency plot as our first square. We can just click on it in the reports and then click on it in the dashboard preview here, and then it gets populated. Alternatively, we can grab and drag and drop. Now these, you notice I picked a 2x1 dashboard. We have 3 graphs. Well, these 2x1, even though it's a template with 2 graphs, we can always add to this just by dragging and dropping. And then if we hover over the right, this will insert on the right of this. I can also insert on the bottom in this column, or if I drag down here, I can insert that graph on the bottom of these two graphs. So really those templates are a starting point, and we can go from there. We can rename our dashboard if we want. And then in the red triangle menu, where you'll find all of the options in JMP, we have the option to either run this dashboard, which will execute the code required to generate that. In the past, this was kind of the only way to generate a dashboard, and what you would get is the builder that's in the screen as well as the run dashboard. And then if you wanted to edit it, you would edit it and create a new builder, and then you would generate a number of different windows. So we added this preview mode, which basically lets you see what your dashboard will look like before actually running it. So if you want to investigate how this thing will be arranged once I run it, I don't have to create a new window. But I'll just run it. Now, one thing we can do in the red triangle menu here is change the report view from full, which gives the graphs and all of the statistics, like we see in this contingency analysis here. We have the mosaic plot and then the contingency table, which is hidden, and then some tests. We might just want to look at the graphs in our dashboard and then only dive into the statistical tables if we so need those to sort of limit the complexity of the dashboard. And this is by turning on report view from full, which is the full platform, to summary. We can then get a stretchable view, which now lets us just look at the graphs. And I can resize these things if I want. And just like the semiconductor dashboard, if I want to peel off this graph builder tab, I can add it as a tab, for example, and now we have a tabbed report. Okay, so let's review some of the features here. You'll find the dashboard builder in File, New Dashboard. You can start and pick a template or start with a blank canvas. You can click drop items from the reports list onto the canvas to automatically add them, or drag and drop them. We'll discuss a logo and title in the next example. You can use the preview mode to minimize multiple windows, so you don't need to run the dashboard and then edit it, creating 3 windows in the process. You can just go between building mode and preview mode without having to create additional windows. We'll talk about the selection filters in the next example, where we can use a graph to filter other graphs, just like we saw on the semiconductor dashboard. We can look at the summary view and then turn that on and off to provide details on demand. So if we want to just look at the graphs of a statistical platform output, we can have that as the default, and then turn on full view to see the rest of the statistical details or tables of the platform. We'll also show this maximize button where we can drill down or focus on a graph. You can rearrange dashboards using the familiar graphs builder drop zones, the blue zones that hide up. And then finally, we'll discuss saving dashboards as interactive HTML and using the query builder with a dashboard builder. So to cover the rest of the features, we're going to look at an interesting data set here that the New York City Open Data Project releases. This is a number of restaurant inspections. So these data are available as far as all of the restaurants in New York. They have demographic information about the type of food, when the inspection was taking place, and what citations they had, violation codes and violation descriptions, for example. So this is available actually as a flat text file. And then I've gone through the effort of normalizing it so that we have tables that are linked together, so we don't have a lot of replication of individual cells. So we have a fact table, which is all of our inspections. We have a 45,000 as just a subset. It's a random sample of the nearly 500,000 records that are in there. I'm taking advantage of the virtual join feature in JMP 13. You notice these keys here, which will link my fact table to two other dimension tables. So this ID here actually links with the dimension of restaurants. So this, Cami, is a unique ID, which works as a key through the link ID property, column property in the virtual join. And then this fact table has access to all of the dimensions of the restaurant table here. So we have our DBA and the address and the building, the street, what borough it is, for example. And then finally, we are also using a link ID with the violation code. So here's our violation code, which links to this dimension violations. And this violation code table has the code, which is the unique ID, and then a description, and then a number of rows, the description there. So with this virtually joined table, we can also use the dashboard builder. So again, I have some scripts here. I'm not going to go through the effort of building these graphs interactively. So I have a distribution of what borough the restaurant is in. I have some information about the number of inspections that are taking place every week, grouped by whether or not they're critical, not applicable, or not critical. I have a map here, which shows the score. And then finally, I have a distribution of the critical flag. And this distribution I actually want to use as a selection filter for this. So I want to be able to click on one of these distribution bars and filter the rest of the graphs. So again, I'll go into File, New Dashboard, and then we'll pick, in this case, a Filter +1 dashboard. So now our template's a little bit different. We start with two panes, but one of them has this funnel indicating that this graph that I drop here will operate as a filter. Now I can place the rest of the graphs that I want for this dashboard. I want my map. In another tab, I want my number of inspections graph, and then in another tab, I want my distribution of borough. Now for this, I'm also going to add in an icon. So we'll add the icon above it. I have a little knife and fork here. And then next to it, I can also add a text box. And I'll call this if I want to, I can single click on this and make this a little bit bigger, bold. Let's take a look at the summary view, preview. Now we might decide that we want these two items centered. So I've hovered over this set of items, and then I can use the Align Center button up top here. So let's run this dashboard. We have our three tabs of analyses. And then this distribution is going to operate as our filter. So if we just want to focus on the critical, if we go back to our graph builder here that shows the number of inspections per week, you remember before we had critical flag showing 3 different categories. Now because we're filtering down, we only see one category. If we grab our second bar here, the critical and non-critical, all of our results will be updated. Going back to the journal, we talked about the selection filter. If you want, you can also use a hierarchical filter. So if we build another dashboard and select the hierarchical filter option, we can do something like this where we have first filtering on whether or not the report is critical, non-critical, or not applicable, filtering by borough, affecting our map here. I'm going to turn on summary mode. And now we can filter by critical and Manhattan, and our map updates. So the other thing you can do with these dashboards is save them as interactive HTML, so you can view them in a web browser. So let's edit this dashboard. And we can start over. Let's just make a 2x2 in this case, where we have our map, inspection count, and then our 2 distributions. We're not going to filter in this case, as that's not supported in interactive HTML. But we can take this kind of set of 4 graphs and file, save as, interactive HTML with data. Put this on my Mac here. And now I have a web browser that's been opened, which shows the dashboard that I've built. And selection works, so filtering doesn't work in interactive HTML because it's not supported, but selection still works. And importantly, we can get the arrangement of our dashboard preserved in our web browser. And now I can share this dashboard with others that don't have or have access to JMP, and then they can explore interactively the dashboard that I've built. Now the last thing to show is I'm going to use these same data, but instead of joining them virtually, I'm going to use the query builder to actually make a physical join. So now we're back to our 3 tables. Two-dimension tables and our fact table. Now I can use the JMP query builder. I have our fact table as my primary, my two-dimension tables as my secondaries. You notice it's found the tables that are keys, and it's going to perform the join there. I want to build this query. I can add all of these columns to my query. Notice we get a preview of the join here. That looks all correct. We might want to remove some of these extra columns. And now I'm going to build some prompting filters. So let's first decide whether we want to look at critical or non-critical inspections. Maybe we want to look at a date range. And then finally, maybe we want to look at a borough. Let's put that before the date range. Now to make these prompt, when I run the query, I'm going to turn on all prompts on run. And now we can run this query. As part of the query builder and the fact that we set up the prompting filters, we can decide what we want here. So let's just look at critical inspections that are happening in the Bronx that are greater than October 1st, 2014. Now it's going to join those tables up and generate my join table that has the 602 inspections that work. Okay, so a couple of different graphs here. Let's build a dashboard again. Pick the 311 in this case, and let's grab a couple of our analyses here. Put the tree map on the bottom. And let's just use our... Now let's run the dashboard. Now what's happened here is because there's a query script in the JMP data table, it's going to let me run that query, make the selections that I have in the query prompt, bring me the most recent data. So if these tables were on a database somewhere and there was new data that was coming in, I was getting at the data via the regular query builder versus the table-based query builder, I would be able to make the selections in the prompting filters, if available, or pull in the most recent data. So now, for example, if I grab the critical and not critical in Brooklyn, the Bronx, and Manhattan that happened after October 1, 2014, it's going to generate a different query, but use the same dashboard that I built. So now I have my record date minus inspection date, I have my years of inspection, and then I have the tree map of the cuisine. So the nice thing here is you can use the dashboard builder as a prototyping tool, build the dashboard based on the graphs, tables, and statistical reports that you need to look at, and then build the query based on the types of dimensions you might want to look at. And then when you run the dashboard, it will automatically bring in the most recent data for you. So that was using Query Builder with Dashboard Builder. So let's talk quickly about the why. Feedback from customers were that building dashboards and applications were difficult in previous versions of JMP, requiring too many clicks. So we've aimed to take the best features from the application builder as far as arranging reports and sharing dashboards with others, and make it into an easy to use drag and drop dashboard builder that lets folks, even if they're not familiar with our JMP scripting language or building applications, to quickly build dashboards of their analyses to either look at themselves to monitor a process or product or what they're the data that they're looking at, or to share with others and to communicate findings with others. In the process, we also exposed in a single click some features that took many more clicks to do in previous versions of JMP. For example, the selection filters, where graphs can be used to filter other graphs, are now just a template away. We do have a full application builder, which gives our users complete customization abilities and a lot of ways to create a completely customized application. But for many users, they just want to arrange reports. That had too high of a learning curve and too many options for building simple dashboards. So we've now split these things apart. We have still our full featured application builder, but we have our more cut down dashboard builder for the audience that just wants to create dashboards in JMP. And this automatically builds the arrangement for you, either based on a template or just by dragging and dropping to the graph builder like drop zones without exposing kind of internal JMP scripting things, again, for this audience of scientists and engineers that just want to arrange reports together and share the results with others. So that's the dashboard builder in JMP 13.